To be honest, a lot of people making the content was boring. It wasn't like you weren't having to be creative and like really get people's attention. And it was like just provide the information for what people want to know. And specifically in the model that I use and the model that I followed is
in 2022, you actually end up selling 23 million, and you just said that this year you're going to end up a little over 30 million. Most of your business comes from YouTube. Why did you even get into YouTube in the first place?
I wanted to build a business based on attraction. So I didn't know that term. I didn't know exactly what that meant, but I knew that I couldn't survive long term if my business was based off of cold calling and door knocking. It was always to figure out, what do I do to get people to pick up the phone and call me? I failed a lot of different ways, basically had zero success. The information people want is, how do I relocate to San Diego? And so you don't have to be a creative, this great talker, in order to just provide valuable information for people that are looking for that type of information. So then over time, it really panned out for me. 23 million in sales last year, 67% of that business came directly from YouTube. Yeah, struggled a lot in the beginning, man. You know, my first basically 3 years in the industry, I bartended at nights to pay my mortgage.
Your first year, you said you struggled your first couple of years in real estate, and then in 2022, you actually end up selling 23 million, and you just said that this year you're going to end up a little over 30 million. At most of your business comes from YouTube. Why did you even get into YouTube in the first place?
Oh, good question. So, yeah, struggled a lot in the beginning, man. I can't even tell you, my first basically 3 years in the industry, I bartended at nights to pay my mortgage. And the reason looking back, the reason was simple. And I can say genuinely, I was mindful of this back then. I wanted to build a business based on attraction. So I didn't know that term. I didn't know exactly what that meant, but I knew that I couldn't survive long term, 20 plus years in an industry if my business was based off of cold calling and door knocking. I just knew that wasn't sustainable for me. So it was always to figure out, what do I do to get people to pick up the phone and call me? That was always the thought from the very, very beginning. And so I failed in a lot of different ways. I tried farming my neighborhood, passing out flyers. We did a lot of different things at the beginning. We did Facebook ads and spent a lot of money there and basically had zero success on that. And then I actually started doing neighborhood videos, like digital mayor type of stuff. Shout out to Kyle Whistle. I think he was really the one that kind of started all that. And it just didn't work for me, man. It was like, I didn't have the budget for a videographer. I was doing all the filming and editing myself. Like, I wasn't very experienced in the industry. It took me like 3 weeks to film and edit one. And I posted on Facebook and I'd get like 12 views and I get a like from my mom. It was like,
yeah,
I just felt like I would post it and people would just comment or like just to be nice, like not because it was valuable content for them. And so as I was going down that path, and I came across someone, I don't even remember who it was, but I came across someone who mentioned, YouTube being a valid strategy. And with YouTube, to be honest, a lot of people making the content was boring. It wasn't like you weren't having to be creative and like really get people's attention. And it was like, just provide the information for what people want to know. And specifically in the model that I use and the model that I followed is the information people want is, how do I relocate to San Diego? Do I want to relocate to San Diego? How expensive is it to relocate to San Diego? What are the pros and cons of living in San Diego? And so you don't have to be a creative necessarily. You don't have to be like this great talker. You don't have to have all this charisma in order to just provide valuable information for people that are looking for that type of information. So as soon as I heard that model, like, it totally clicked for me. And I just completely dedicated myself to weekly videos. And over time, it like had blind faith. And over time, it really panned out for me. I mean, last year, like you said, 23 million in sales last year, which is nothing crazy, but 67% of that business came directly from YouTube. This year, we're actually, we just got another one under contract. So we're just over 50% came from YouTube. If you look at direct YouTube leads that reached out that ended up in a transaction. However, the interesting thing is if you include our previous YouTube clients that we're getting repeat business from, or we're getting referrals from, then we're still up closer to 60 to 65% of transactions this year.
And it's interesting that you say it's like, yeah, you don't have to be creative. You don't have to be like this, have this over creativity. But when I look at like your channel, I actually think you're more creative than the majority of people on YouTube. Like you
I
can look at
appreciate that.
like your, yeah, it's just noticeable, like right out of the gate, like the titles, the thumbnails, like the quality, like there is that level of quality difference. And I know you didn't start there. Um,
I
so
sure didn't.
I want to kind of unpack that a little bit, but I do want to first ask because you mentioned you didn't know you wanted the word attraction like to be your business, but now looking back, you see it that way. I remember when I first was in sales, I don't know if you ever heard of Cutco, like the knife company.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for 5 years, if you'll
Yeah,
believe it. Um, so I've made like 100 to 200 phone calls in a day. And when I got into like fitness and then real estate, I actually actively avoided. I was like, can I just figure out any way possible where I don't have to make phone calls?
for sure.
Was there some moment like that for you? Is that why like you went towards attraction, or was it something else?
Yeah, I think since day one in real estate, I had a sales job before this. I sold produce. I sold $1 million a month of produce. It was a lot of lettuce and cabbage and carrots to sell. And it was a very stressful job. And it was my first sales job. And I'm an introvert at heart. So like I never
Same.
thought I would go down the sales path. And I ended up having that job in it like I ended up having way too much stress and anxiety from that job for a lot of different reasons. But what I found was there are actually a lot of things, a lot of aspects of sales that I really do enjoy. And so, if I, the thing that I always just knew I wanted is there is some type of recipe out there to where people want to pick up the phone and call me, and it doesn't have to be the other way around. And I'm willing to take the time to figure out what the heck that means for me and how I can make that work. So I can say confidently, like since day one in real estate, I knew that's how I wanted to run my business, and I knew it was going to take time to figure it out.
So there might have been like some avoidance of like, I don't want to go through this stress again of like trying to do all that cold prospecting.
Yeah, and you know what? And what I would say for people that want to get started today, depending on what situation you're in, or if you're established in real estate or not, like you still should do those other things. That's now business. You need some offense in your
Yeah.
business. This is more of defense in the beginning, and I think that's the right way to do things. But it certainly wasn't my approach, and it wasn't that I was super fearful of knocking on doors or making cold calls. It's just I was so obsessed with figuring out. I'm always thinking long term. Is like so obsessed with figuring out how can I build the business that I want to build.
Yeah. You're at some level obsessed with like, there has to be a better way of doing this.
Yeah.
And I kind of like how you touched on that for a moment. Like, because a lot of the times when you get in these conversations with like, you have the people on the content side, like you, Ken Pozek, like I'm huge on content, and then you have the cold prospecting leads. Like the conversation sometimes is like an or. Like people go, "Oh, you have to do this or you have to do this," and you're like,
Yeah.
"No, you got to have offense, defense. Like you got to have short term, long term." I think that's something that's not always talked about. Is like, why not do both kind of simultaneously when you're starting out, at least too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what's funny is, are you a fan of Ed Milet at all?
Yeah, I am.
So I think one of the things he's most famous for is talking about separation season. And that's I think it's
Yep.
double, triple as true for real estate agents, where this time of year, a lot of people decide to take a backseat and relax and take some time off. And not that you shouldn't take some time off, but as Ed says it, there's a holiday this month, not a holiday month. And so I think throughout my career, where I've seen the biggest strides is this time of year where the day-to-day business slows down. I'm not reaching out to as many warm or hot leads because very few people are looking to buy in the month of December. But this is where I go really hard on my business and upgrading, the different pillars that I'm working on. So that's, I think, when you look at the videos I've done and how I have gotten a little bit better and a little bit more creative on the platform, it's because I've done the work of researching other people and doing trainings in and out, not even just inside of real estate, but on YouTube, and figuring out what people want on that platform and figuring out how to come across as having charisma on camera, which is all teachable stuff, by the way. So this is the time of year to do that kind of stuff. This is a separation season to do that kind of stuff. And then, when we hit the beginning of the year, that's where you should get more into the calls, the warm calls, the cold calls, to get that now business.
So let's double click on that for a little bit. When you were starting out in YouTube, like it was like a lot of like grinding for that first year to really get momentum. And I think sometimes people don't always look at that like year and say, what did you have to go through? Like mentally, like what did you have to learn? What were some of the lessons? And we're kind of in that period now where a lot of people, like you said, separation season.
Mm-hmm.
So what pillars are you kind of focused on right now in your business? And what are you doing right now to create that separation?
So obviously YouTube is what got us started. And so that's where we started to gain some traction. The beginning of last year, what we decided to work on, we brought my wife on to our team. She's not a licensed agent, but she's back house. She's actually, we created a role called director of hospitality for her. And that should really give some visualization of like what she does on our team. She's like the heart and soul of our team. Once someone gets under contract, throughout eternity. She's doing client care. She's putting on events. She's communicating with them throughout the transaction. We're doing a huge key day celebration for every single client. We have one planned later today. We're going to pop some confetti. We're going to bring some cold champagne. We're going to bring some nice champagne for them to drink later. We're going to have a really beautiful gift basket for them to enjoy. And then everyone that we've closed a transaction with or sent us a referral, now they're part of our community. And that actually means something for us. It's our best life community. And we have monthly giveaways. Like, it's just nonstop bringing them into this community, building this community, and having referral partners and clients for life. So that's really what we focused on last year in addition to YouTube. It's easy to want to do it all, trust me. But
Yeah.
I found like really you don't want to add more than one pillar a year. So figure out what works and what doesn't work. But we knew SOI could be worked on. So that's what we really pushed last year. And then this year, we moved about 5 months ago. So so now we have a geographic farm in the neighborhood that we live in. So that's kind of on autopilot right now for us. So it's not too much to manage. And then the big thing that we're working on coming into this new year is, for YouTube, we are relocation specialists to help people relocate to San Diego. And then now what I believe is the next big piece of pie is we can also be relocation specialists helping people move outside of San Diego. And so it's not the same model as we currently have for our YouTube channel. It just is not going to work the same way, because when people are looking at relocating out of San Diego, they're not typing into their computer relocating out of San Diego. They're typing into their computer moving to Washington, D.C. or San Francisco or whatever it is. So it's going to involve some creativity in figuring out how to get in front of those people and provide value. But essentially what we're going to do is we're just going to build this relocation package like you've never seen in our industry. And we're going to capture more people moving out of San Diego. And then we're going to spend a lot more effort on getting at them early on in the process. And then also capturing the referral business for agents in that other market as well. So that's our big focus for this year, is just being all around number one relocation team in San Diego.
So when you talk about that, like relocating out, are you thinking like, let me look at the keywords, like the data where people move, for example, like California moves to like Texas, Arizona, Florida, and like literally creating content around that, or like what's kind of going on in your mind for that?
Yes, that can be a part of it. It's what I'd recommend for anybody out there that wants to build out some type of system is what's been really impactful for me is Alex Hermosi's books. So $100 million leads, $100 million. I don't remember what the second one is. It's a three
Offers
book
and
series.
leads.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and then there's a third one that's coming out pretty soon. So it's a 3 book series, and so he really dives into detail on figuring out who is your audience, figuring out what you're offering, charging more than the other person, but then also creating this package that's so far beyond what anyone else offers. People would feel dumb saying no to your offer. So really, we need to build those systems first, and we're starting to build out the framework for all that stuff right now, and then we need to go to the other side and figure out the marketing aspect of it. And more than likely, when we get to that side of things, I'm probably going to be looking for an outside hire for the marketing of that, because I think it's something that's going to be very multifaceted. It's going to be some pretty complicated lead funnels, and it's going to be across multiple platforms. So I don't know exactly what that looks like yet, but yeah, I mean, Google keywords, YouTube pre-roll ads, Reddit, Facebook, all the main social platforms you can advertise on. So, and you can target people that are researching moving out of their area. So, and it seems to be a very underutilized kind of keyword search. So there's certainly opportunity there, but there's a lot of work that needs to go into figuring out exactly what that's going to look like.
So have you looked at like, because it sounds like you're in like the $100 million offer phase where you're
Mhm.
kind of building out the offer. Like, is that some form of you're thinking through, okay, what's that looking like? Or do you have like just a blanket idea of what that might look like?
I do. I don't have it thought out enough to really verbalize it right now. But like, think of a relocation company and what they offer and kind of concierge services that are associated with that. Um,
Mm,
and helping people. Like, here's the thing: when someone needs to relocate, what are the feelings they have? It's not a lot of positive feelings. It's a lot of stress. It's how the heck are we going to make this work? The timing is going to be challenging. Like, you can come up with 100 different challenges that they're going to go through mentally and physically with that process. And so you just start to one by one work at what's the solution that we can offer, and then is it possible? How difficult would it be? And a lot of this stuff is just like, it's going to be education. It's going to be a course on helping them through the process. It's going to be helping them with a timeline. It's going to be helping them make
mm,
it really easy to figure out whether they want to use a actual moving company, whether they want to use their own moving truck, whether they want to use a pod company, how to figure out timing. Like, all of this stuff can really be systemized so it's really easily digestible. And then at the end of the day, us connecting them with someone in another area is also a benefit to them, because we can connect them
yep.
with a relocation specialist in that area that specializes in that type of program. And then we can also help them the day they move in know what's the grocery store and the restaurants that they should go to in the area. Like, what are some meetup groups that would be good for them? We can send out mailers to a couple dozen other neighbors, just introducing them to the neighbors. Like, there's so many things, there's so much opportunity there. So I don't
Yeah.
really, like I said, I mean, we're still in the figuring it out stage, but there's so much opportunity for things that really aren't that difficult on our end. It's difficult to set up the first time, but then it's like, once you have the system set up, it shouldn't be that difficult. And like I said, I mean, no, who's offering that? Nobody's
No
offering
one.
that. So yeah, I think it's a really, really cool opportunity, but as with anything, we'll see how it ends up working out at the end of the day.
Nice. And I do want to get to like your best life community because it seems like you've built an experience, like especially with the director of hospitality. But I think it would be good to probably touch on what you've built your business on, which is YouTube, relocation. So, can you walk me through your strategy from a thinking process? Like, how do you think of what should I even start to post? And especially now when you're kind of looking at your content and you see, I've created this, what should I do? Like, what's your ideation process?
So I would say the answer to that question is first take a step back, really dial in who is your audience, who is a person that you want to talk to on your videos. I've literally given a name to my audience or my avatar. My avatar is Matt. He's a early 30 to late 30-year-old who just got married, and they're thinking about having their first kid. And generally, they work in tech. They have a job that they can work remote. Like that's my avatar because that's a majority of my clients. So once you really dive in, first, who is your avatar? Second, what type of channel are you? What are you specializing in? For me, like I said, relocation. Then it starts to become really clear, like what's the content that they're interested in? And like those clients for me, they're generally not as interested in investing videos in San Diego. They're generally not as interested in um, uh, well, I guess I didn't completely finish the thought of Matt. They're also like, as far as like income earners, they're mid to high income earners. So I'm not doing videos on the cheapest neighborhoods in San Diego. I'm not doing videos on rentals in San Diego. I'm really niching down on who my audience is, who I want to attract, and then making videos for that audience. So that's step number one. And then once you have that figured out, if you are a relocation channel, like take a look at 5 other relocation channels. Take a look at mine. Take a look at Jeremy Knight's and Ken Pozek's, and do some research. Like look at their top videos. Take their top 10 videos from each of us. Go over to ChatGPT. Tell ChatGPT what you want to do. That you want to make you're a real estate agent with a YouTube channel attracting clients, and you want to be a relocation specialist for your area. Here are some people that you are researching. These are their top 10 videos each. Let me come up with 50 video ideas that are similar to these video ideas. There you go. A year worth of content, and it'll take you less than an hour.
So, you brought up an interesting point with your avatar because you created a video recently, the tech relocation guide to San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of the marketing? You probably have, but like the marketing term, like the video sales letter?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So, back in like the, I'm going to probably date this wrong, like 60s or 70s, there's like this marketing sales letter, and it became popular because the Wall Street Journal was sending out this long form sales letter for 3 decades that they literally only changed numbers in, and they've got over 2 billion in sales from that sales letter over the 30 years. And I don't know if you did this on purpose, but kind of what you did with that video is you created a video sales letter for the ideal client, the content, and then kind of like the next subsequential step of that video is like booking a consultation call. Uh, was any of that like thought process like, hey, I'm going to create this video because I know it could potentially lead to the right people reaching out?
Yeah, I mean, that's the goal of every video, right? That would
Yeah.
definitely hit home more than others because we definitely have, like, we have Apple's building a campus and bringing 5,000 employees to San Diego, which is crazy because we've averaged about 2,000 homes for sale every month so far this year. So 5,000 people. I've worked with a lot of Apple employees moving here to San Diego. It's a tough market to get into, but that absolutely is my audience and my avatar. So yeah, it was just a no-brainer video that I had on my list of videos I needed to make for a long time, and finally did it, and it paid off pretty well.
Did you know that going into relocation, you were going to go into like the higher price point, or was that on purpose, or is that just the matter of the market and the relocation, etc.?
Well, I learned early on in my career between farming a neighborhood that was below the median price point and starting with Facebook ads that were essentially marketing homes at a price that was like nearly impossible to get to, is I talked to a lot of people that weren't working in neighborhoods that I ultimately wanted to be in, and had a really hard time um, actually being able to afford these properties. So I was spinning my wheels talking to people that would never be able to buy these homes a lot of times. And so um, at some point it hit me where it's like, look, I could do the same amount of work to market myself to people that can barely and may not be able to afford homes, that I can spend marketing myself to people that can buy above the median price homes. Why would I not do the latter? So
Hmm.
yeah, I was very intentional once I had my channel of not doing videos on the cheapest neighborhoods in San Diego, not doing videos on top rental neighborhoods in San Diego, because that's not, I don't care if it'll get me 100,000 views if it's not the right people, if it's not the right clients. So yeah, I've really focused on how do I attract people that are looking for, you know, they don't have to be looking for $5 million homes, but here in San Diego, the median price home is 900,000. So essentially, I'm hoping to get clients that at least have $1 million budget. And truth be told, a lot of people that reach out to me with $1 million budget and want a 3 bed, 2 bath, single family home in a quote unquote nice neighborhood, we have a challenge with that. It's not easy. So yeah, that's for all those reasons. A lot of people relocate to San Diego. They know it's expensive, but like I was talking to someone from, I think Kansas City is where they were coming from. They own a house out there that's doubled in value and is worth $260,000, and they want to buy a home out here. And they're very picky. They want new construction. They want to be in a good school district, and they're bringing their budget from there. They make over $200,000. So, like to them, moving here, they're going to have a very healthy budget, but that's not the reality. They're going to barely be able to afford something under $1 million, and it's going to be a fixer. It's not going to be in a great school district. It's going to be an attached property, or maybe more realistically, they're not going to buy out here anytime soon because they need to continue to save money, or be able to ratchet up to something else. So yeah, I've run into that situation a lot of times in my career, and it sucks because I'm in a market that is very um, military driven in a lot of ways. But the unfortunate reality is a lot of these military members, they're not making enough money to buy in San Diego. It's become so
Yeah.
difficult to purchase because inventory is so low that costs have gone just skyrocketed. And it sucks. And I wish that weren't the case. But like, if I built my business off of that, I would be struggling. So that's just, I didn't decide to focus on it.
It's interesting because it's like you probably see it all the time. There's realtors that are like, how do I move up my price point? How do I get into luxury? And it's like you just created content to attract the people that you want to work with.
Yeah.
So looking at kind of your overall strategy and everything that you do, like you have YouTube, like you have the shorts, I think you do the lives, like you have the newsletter, like you're putting out blogs. When you look at your strategy and you see, okay, this is working, this is maybe not working, like we're changing this up, like obviously the YouTube videos are working. What are you kind of looking at when you kind of take the strategy as a whole, and where are you kind of doubling down?
Yeah, that's a good question. And partly because I think us as business owners and real estate agents, we have shiny object syndrome. Another
Yep.
good idea comes up, we want to follow that idea. And unfortunately, we never go back and say, what can I eliminate in order to be able to do this thing? And I struggle with that just like the next person. And so I just had a conversation with our admin yesterday, and it's like, all right, you've been on the team for a year. What have we been doing that's working, and what have we been doing that's not been working? And we've actually looked at, we were um, going to Upwork, and we were sending a video to someone to make a blog for us on a weekly basis for $20 a blog. Not that much of an investment based on everything else that we're doing. Well, we've been doing that for a year. We post that blog on our website. We post that blog on Newsbreak. We post our videos on Newsbreak as well. And Newsbreak is it's an app kind of like YouTube, but it's more localized. and you can post your content on there and you get more views. So in my mind, like, why the heck wouldn't you do this? You get the same content, you get more eyeballs.
Yeah.
But that's taking her time. That's we're having to figure out the blog writer to write these blogs. We're gonna have to proof it. And after a year of doing it, not one person reached out saying, Dan, I found you on Newsbreak. So we decided, scrap it. We don't need to do that. Let's work on these new programs that we're looking at. Let's make sure that we're focusing on continuing to enhance and improve our YouTube videos. And yeah, so that's kind of the latest and greatest of what we've been looking at.
Because you use Reddit too. Like, has that become like bring any fruit to the videos? Like, have you like seen that bring any traffic in the back end, like analytics, or not really so much?
So Reddit's a tough one because do you spend any time on Reddit?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So
faintly familiar. Can't say I'm an expert.
no, that's okay. So the thing about Reddit is, it's people go there because they don't want to deal with, like, they just want to get people's opinions. They don't want to be sold to. And so you cannot go onto Reddit and post your video because people will laugh at you. They will tell you get the F off the platform. They will block you from different groups. So it's not an easy platform to work. I think there absolutely is an opportunity for some paid advertisement strategies potentially. I haven't really looked into that all that much, but where I was seeing the most success is very labor intensive, but like there is a moving to San Diego subreddit. It's literally just people looking to move to San Diego, looking for advice on what neighborhoods to live in. And so my strategy is to just stay involved with that community. The more often you can respond to anyone, even if they're looking to rent and just asking about neighborhoods, the better. So I would post in there and just put a response like, hey, here are my top 3 neighborhoods I'd recommend. And what's cool is over time, other people in the group will say, oh, by the way, Dan's a realtor and he has a great channel on relocating to San Diego. So they would push my content for me. My first closing from YouTube, actually, I found out, a year later, they originally found me on Reddit because I had done that. So that absolutely does work. The tough thing about Reddit is I actually got banned from that channel when I was following the rules because they just thought that I was spamming. Like one time, well, actually probably a couple of times, but definitely not every time. Occasionally I would post a really genuine response and then I would just end by saying, by the way, I have a channel about relocating to San Diego. This specific video, you'd probably get some value in. And so the mods must have watched one of my videos, saw that I was a real estate agent, and just banned me without giving me any response. So Reddit can be a little bit brutal when it comes to that. So a couple of months ago, I got a new account on Reddit. So it's pretty easy to start a new account. But yeah, you just have to be careful. It's the right people are in those rooms. It's very labor intensive to go and just respond to everyone and be genuine and not pitch is tough.
Yeah, like when I started writing it on the internet in like 2015, 2016, that was kind of the tactic on Quora. I don't know if you've heard of the platform. It's like you have this genuine response where you have good content, and just at the end, it's like a link to like, hey, if you want more, here's where you can get like more of this content. And I tried that on Reddit, and I end up getting banned too.
Yep. Yeah, they don't, and that's where I've thought about advertising on there, and I still think it could be a decent strategy. But I know because I scroll on Reddit when I don't do TikTok really, but I'll scroll around on Reddit just when I'm bored. And whenever I see an advertisement, the advertisers are getting good at trying to make it look like real content. But because I know what the mindset is when you're on that platform, I see an advertisement, and I just doesn't matter what it is, if it's something I'm interested in or not, I just scroll right past it. Because that's not why I'm on the platform. I'm trying to get away from all that stuff. That's why I like the platform. And that's how a lot of other people are too.
Makes sense. How obsessed are you with your analytics? Because a big thing when people are starting out, like with video, with YouTube, is like I feel like you kind of have to hold two sides where it's like, because I've seen it go like different ways where people are like so obsessed with analytics, and then that kind of gets in the way of shooting videos. And then there's the other side of it where people just say, be consistent, be consistent. But then as a business owner or as someone who's trying to get better, you're like, well, I don't want to just be consistent. I want to put out great videos. So it's like there's kind of two dialogues to have almost at the same time. So I was curious, when someone's like starting out or just trying to grow on YouTube, how do they weigh both of those and make sure that they're not just putting out quantity for quantity's sake, but also are consistent at the same time?
Yeah, and that's a tough one. You definitely got it right. You have to have the balance, and consistency will trump all up to a certain point. The beginning of this year, I decided instead of my weekly video, I was going to try and do 2 weekly videos. And it just killed me trying to get 2 videos out. And what I noticed is at the end of the week, I wasn't getting more views because the quality wasn't quite as good. So yeah, you definitely want to be paying attention to that, and figure out what your audience reacts to. Um, I've done different things like the video I recorded right before coming on here, where I accidentally had my microphone off. I'm gonna have to re-record it. Is a series that I have called Answer Your Questions, where it's just a one shot through. And I have a Stream Deck connected to OBS Studio, which means I can like change camera angles and change from split screen and different things so that it keeps it interesting. It's not just me in front of the camera the whole time. It almost feels like it's an edited video because it goes through these different transitions. And the reason I do that video is because this week I don't have time to get my video off to an editor. I mean Hawaii next week. Like I'm just trying to stay consistent and crank out content. So that was a way that I found I could, when I need to get in another video, I can film one of those, not have to go through the whole sending off to an editor, waiting for them, giving revisions, all that stuff. And it could just help me expedite the process a little bit. And the cool thing is it works really well. I get really good average view duration. I get really clickable thumbnails. So for me and for my audience, it's worked pretty well. But if it didn't work well, then I wouldn't have done it. Another thing I'd recommend that I've done for that is like the thumbnails for every single video in that series. They all have the same outline. It's like me with a microphone, and then there's a little screen in the corner. Like I forget what it was. One of the
It's like the
BAM series.
podcasts. It looks kind of
Yeah,
like podcast thumbnails, I think.
yeah. I think one of the BAM or Knowledge Brokers podcasts or something like that. They have that same type of design. That's where I got the idea. And the reason I do that is because I don't want to trick my audience. I don't want them to think, oh, Dan no longer has edited videos. I just want them to know right away, oh, I know what I'm getting into on this video. So for me, for my audience, that seems to be working pretty well. And yeah, you got to find the balance. I think you have to stay consistent with a weekly video. It's really, really important, especially in the beginning. And figuring out ways to make that happen is important. And not getting so stuck on the analytics or changing out thumbnails and all these other things that it's a way to avoid making more videos. You need to stay consistent with making the videos.
What have you seen that's worked for you when it comes to like your YouTube videos? Like when if you do like these things, this is like, I don't want to say the formula for success, but like you've been creating videos for a long time. So what do you do to make sure it's like, okay, let me at least give this video the best shot to perform and do well?
Yeah. So as far as like the layout of the video, it's a similar style that I do every time. So I was going to start by having a hook on the video. So the hook is really, really important, a way to just draw people into that video. And getting really good at that is important. And you get good at that by watching what other people do. And one of the mistakes I made in the beginning, and we used to see it a lot more in the beginning too with other creators out there, is like it's taking way too long to get to the content. Someone wants to watch a video about the best neighborhoods in San Diego, and it takes me 2 minutes to get to that content. Like people are clicking off. So you want to get to that as quick as you can, which means you don't want to go to Fiverr and pay someone to make a 5 or 10 second intro video screen. You don't need it. It's only going to allow people the opportunity to click off. You don't want to spend 5 minutes telling people that they can send you smoke signals and whatever other BS to reach out to you. You don't need to do that because they're going to click off. So hook, really quick one line on who you are. I think Jeremy Knight does it the best. My name's Jeremy Knight, your favorite awesome realtor. Like literally less than 2 seconds. And it doesn't give someone the opportunity to click off. It tells people who he is. It's the same thing every time. So it's really easy to flow through. So hook, you can introduce yourself, just make it really quick, and then get into that content. And then through the course of the video, just make sure that like you're having some B-roll, you're changing scenes, you're keeping it as interesting as you can. Some other tips that I use is when I go like before actually, I'll make the outline of the video and then I'll go back and I'll think about, all right, what stories can I tell to just tell stories because people like to listen to stories, but B, who are my stories about? They're always about my clients. So it's like, it's a way to tell them I'm a real estate agent without telling them, hey, I'm a real estate agent. Like, hey, we're talking about the woes of buying new construction in San Diego. Listen to what my clients just went through. Like, that draws them in. It shows that you're the professional. It reminds them to reach out to you when they want to buy a new construction home. So the stories are really, really good. And then as far as like calls to action, I don't do a lot. I'll usually do one at the end. That's pretty simple. If you have different types of giveaways, you can mention it. I more often than not, I'll tell people, hey, if you want a more detailed explanation of where you should live in San Diego, I have a free discovery session that you can sign up below. It's a 30-minute Zoom call where we can discuss what neighborhoods might be the best fit for you. And so it's an opportunity to tell people to go down and look at the resources that I have. But one of the biggest calls to actions that you should have on a video actually isn't about you. It's about another video. So just like the hook in the beginning, you want kind of a second hook at the end that hooks them into watching another one of your videos. And the reason for that is you're going to have a lot more success on YouTube if instead of telling people all the time to call you, you tell people to stay on the platform. YouTube loves that. There are a few things they like more than when someone watches one of your videos and then watches another one of your videos. And so what happens there is, let's say they watch 2 of your videos. Now they leave YouTube, they come back 2 days later, they log on to their home screen on YouTube, and guess what? Now one of your thumbnails are down on their homepage. And that's what you want, because they'll look at that and say, oh, I watched 2 of their videos yesterday. Oh, that's a cool video idea. I'll click on that, see what they're talking about. And now YouTube knows more about what type of people are going to be interested in your videos. It's going to stay in front of them. I get people all the time ask me, like, what are the number one video or the top videos that you make that get people to reach out to you? And the truth is, no one ever says, Dan, I'm calling you because I watched X video. They say, Dan, I'm calling you because I've watched every single one of your videos. So the more you can get them to stay on the platform and watch more of your content, like by the time they pick up the phone and call you, you're already their agent. You've already talked to them for hours. And so the conversion's already been done.
Yeah. And I think that's what gets lost. People, understandably, it's kind of like, what's the pill that I can use to lose weight? And they say, what's the one video that I can do to get results? Or what's the magic phrase? Ken Pozek literally just sends people to his email. You literally just send people to a page. It's not one video. And I think what gets lost is the suggested side, because everyone is so heavy on search that they get caught up on like just telling information, being educational. But when you you care about the B-roll, you care about the experience, you care about the story, and then you send them to another video, they know what experience they're going to get in the next video. And so when they log back into YouTube, they see another one of your thumbnails, they're like, I had a great experience, so I'm going to keep watching more of their videos. And I think that kind of gets lost a little bit within real estate. I don't know if your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and just clarify, because we both are on YouTube, but a lot of people listening, when they heard you say they focus on search, like, yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of people, when they get into this, they figure out what's going on. They're like, okay, I'm making a relocation channel, so I need to rank for SEO for specific keywords related to moving to San Diego. And yes, that will get you views, but if all the views you're getting are just from search, you're doing it wrong. Most successful creators, they're getting 80% of they're maxing out at around 20% of their views from search. That's it, which means When you win is when people come to the platform searching for something else, or they want to search for something else, and your videos pop up and it forces them to forget about what they were actually coming to the platform for, and they're watching your video. That's when you really, really win. So the search can help you establish a channel and get going and help the algorithm figure out who is your audience. But ultimately, yeah, you want to get those other views.
Yeah, you said it beautifully. I couldn't say it better. What's what's the support underneath you? Because like between pumping out an email, pumping out YouTube videos, like what's that support to help you kind of do it all? Like, are you writing your own scripts? Are you writing all of your emails now?
I am writing my scripts. That's one thing that I've had a hard time getting rid of. I'm doing my own thumbnails, and the editing I'm outsourcing. Everything after uploading a video, like, you know, we're still creating blogs right now. We're going to find a different way. We'll probably utilize ChatGPT to make blogs moving forward. And then we have several different platforms we post these things on, and our weekly email that goes out. All of that's handled by my administrator. So we have systems set up so it's just an easy, repeatable method every single week to figure out what to do.
So, Pareto's principle, the 20% that brings the 80% results, where are you focusing most of your time?
I mean, definitely the video creation. It'd be great if I could have someone create the outlines for me. And that's a very attractive thought. The challenge there is that, you know, I've done so many of these. I've done so much research. Like, I already have so much knowledge, so much more knowledge than anyone I'm going to pass this off to. And so, it's a problem for another day. But I think right now it's important to continue doing that.
So, have you ever seen Ken's mind map of his like content strategy? I imagine maybe. I'm not
I don't
sure.
think so.
Okay. So he's like he's essentially, for anyone that doesn't know, like Ken's basically building like a media company that sells real
Mhm.
estate, and he's trying to like hire all these different roles. So there's people like that. There's people like, you might know, like Matt Leitch. He just like, I
Mhm.
just want to create videos and I just want to fuel the team. I don't need to have something huge like that. Like, what are you building?
Yeah, I mean, two great examples. Ken's a beast, and he's just an incredible operator, well beyond the YouTube thing, and team leader. He's got an incredible business that he's building, and nothing but admiration for that guy. I know Ken well. He's awesome person. Matt's great too. Yeah, he focuses on new construction, which works out really, really well in his area. In San Diego, we're quite limited on new construction opportunities, and a lot of our developers are offering nothing for broker comp. So it doesn't make sense to just focus on that. Although I still like the idea of going to communities and showcasing some new homes, because that definitely gets people to pick up the phone and call you. As far as what I'm building, I mean, we my goal is to get out of production so that I can continue to build up leads, continue to build up a business. And I just love the whole coaching and mentoring people. So we have a small team now. We don't have immediate plans to bring more people on because I know we have a lot more capacity based on the number of people that we have currently. So we're building up the assets that we already have on hand. But eventually we'd love to continue growing this thing. At one point in time, all I wanted was, 20 agents doing 200 million a year. It sounded very enticing. And then I started to learn how many big teams are not making any money. And like, we've been very profitable for the last 2 years. And so I don't want to bring on people just so I can say we do X amount in sales, or X amount of GCI, or X amount of agents on my team, because none of that matters. What matters is the profitability. And for me, helping people in being, having a lot of ethics and integrity. So we're trying to build things how we feel is the right way. And it'll probably take a little bit longer, but to us, it feels like the right thing to do. But I would love to be the number one team in San Diego one day. But I don't know that that's really what we're pushing for at this moment in time.
Nice. And it's not like anyone needs, it's kind of like the whole saying that like everyone goes, oh, you, like Gary Vee talks about, you got to be the digital mayor. It's like not everybody needs to be necessarily digital mayor, just like not everybody has to have a mega team. Some people just want to have their business at whatever level makes the most sense for them, their lifestyle, what they're looking to build. And I was curious because you have the team, you have your business, you have the YouTube, all the stuff you're doing in marketing, all the stuff that you're doing just within everything that you do. How do you make time to do all of this and then not lose sight of like you're going to Hawaii next week, like spending time with family? Like that's a big deal too.
Yeah, it's important. Quality life's important. Our brand is Best Life San Diego. Like we want to help people live their best life. And I realized very early on, that we weren't really living what we were selling. And so, yeah, we've focused on that. And to that, I mean, it's tough to have just advice that is blanket advice for everybody because there's two types of people. There's a type of people that have a hard time figuring out what to do when they're in real estate and they don't have business. And there's a type of people that even if they don't have business, there's still not enough hours in the day to get done the things that they want to get done to build their business. And so for those people, it's important to figure out that you need to have a time to clock off. Burnout is a very real thing. You have to be intimately knowledgeable of how to avoid burnout for yourself. And for me, that involves not working on the weekend if I'm not doing showings. That involves turning off my phone at 8 o'clock every single night and having a message on my phone that if you call me after 8 p.m., you'll hear from me tomorrow morning. And also a message on my phone if you call me on Sunday and it's a non-urgent message, then you'll hear from me Monday morning. And so creating some boundaries is really, really important for the work that you're putting in for your clients, and actually having some dedicated family time. Like all that stuff is really, really important for you to keep your sanity and continue doing the things and working at a high level.
A lot of people could have just heard that and be like, as a real estate agent, what do you mean shut off my phone at 8 p.m., not
Yeah.
work on like Sundays? It's like, I can't do that. That's like saying no to business.
Yeah.
Were you always like that, or was that like something you had to build up to?
I think I definitely learned the hard way. Like you just have to figure out and not everyone's the same. Like we have an agent on our team who has a small child. And so for him, he actually needs the time up until like from 5 to 7:30. And then it's easier for him to get in a little bit more work, from 9 to 10 or 11. And so that's what he's found works for him and for his family. We don't have a kid right now, so we don't have to worry about that. So, but yeah, I mean, anyone that's a hard worker, they've dealt with burnout. And so just figuring out a way to work at a really high level and push yourself and work harder than other people while still not burning out is important. So like taking care of yourself, taking care of your physical and mental well-being, like that's where you need to start before anything else. And then you figure out those boundaries. And so like what we say on our team is when you're working, then work. When you're off, be off. Like don't have it be a gray zone all the time because you'll drive yourself crazy and you'll be way less effective. The more effective you can be with your time working and setting specific deadlines and boundaries with your day, the better you're going to be. Now we're in a business where it's great to say, but that like, there was a night last week where I was up until 10:30 talking to a client through some BS that we were dealing with. That was a very unique situation. I knew that we were waiting for that call to come in and it just needed to be handled. So it's good to have boundaries. You need to occasionally be flexible to them, but as long as you're doing it, 90% of the time you're staying strong to it, then you're going to be all for the better.
And I was just curious because you mentioned like the brand is Best Life in San Diego, and there was a point where you said you felt like you weren't living up to that. Was there a moment where like you burned out, or like it just got to a certain point and there's like the switch?
I wouldn't say we weren't living it because of burnout. I would say we weren't living it because, the benefit of San Diego is being out and enjoying the weather and being out and enjoying the beach and walking around and walkable communities. And so our first home was a starter home in a starter neighborhood, and it was not close to the beach. And like we were only 25 minutes away, but it was sad when a year went by. I'm like, we didn't even go to the beach this year. Like, why are we spending the money to live in San Diego if we didn't even go to the beach this year? So we decided, you know what? There's no way we can afford living by the beach if we're buying a house, but we can rent. Like it was, we just put on our vision board. We want to live by the beach. We want to live walking distance to the beach. So that year we ended up selling our house, buying an investment property, and renting by the beach for a year. And it was glorious. I mean, there were months where literally every single day we went and enjoyed the beach at some level, like at least just went until the sunset or something. And then a year and a half later, our business is going really well, and we were able to buy a house just 2 miles away. So now we have, it's not on the beach, but we can ride our e-bikes over there. Today's Friday. Our plan is to go down to Carlsbad Village and over by the beach and walk around and get a beer and just enjoy that lifestyle. So that's really what kind of sparked that interest, is like, for us living where we live, living that brand, living your best life here in San Diego involves the walkability and the beach and the reasons why people move to San Diego.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. And I was curious, is there anything like, what are you just absolutely obsessed with right now? Like, is there something that's just like is constantly eating at the back of your mind? Like you're just like always thinking about it?
Um, any one thing? No, I don't know. I mean, just a well-rounded business, like, when you're starting out and building your business, you really need to focus on one thing or two things at a time. And we're luckily at the point now where we can focus on multiple things at a time because I have support to help me with some of those things. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I dive all in on a lot of different things. I love the coaching aspect. I love, I'm really big on the brokerage that we're at and talking about the brokerage we're at and helping people, figure out what systems to build around them. And just giving back to the agent community is really big for me right now too. Um, YouTube, obviously, I'm very focused on the relocation thing we were talking about earlier. I really have been putting a lot of time and effort into, and then just building a business with integrity. Like we just did our business planning for 2024 with our team, and we went back through our core values, and like integrity is absolutely up there. Working hard, being kind, and having integrity. It's like those are three of the main things that are really, really important to us.
Nice. And if people want more, they want to like learn from you or just pay attention to what's going on, where should they go?
Yeah, so check me out on Instagram, Dan P Best Life SD. I'm on there all the time. You can message me. I'm happy to chat. When is this podcast coming out?
Uh, I have to look at the schedule, but I think there's only a few more episodes in front of you, so it might be
Okay.
January.
Okay. So then it'll be too late. But we have I have a webinar with BAM Broker Agent Media and Chris Benjamin coming up on December 14th. Hopefully there'll be a recording of that, and yeah, just reach out. I mean, I send out agent email every single week. So if you're interested in learning about YouTube or anything else like that, just message me on Instagram and I can hook you up.
Nice. And so I want to ask you, what does world-class leadership mean to you?
World-class leadership. Um, yeah, good question. So, I mean, it's a complicated answer. It's a lot of different things. I don't know that I could distill it down into a neat little box, but um, you know, man, like just really spending time to work on your business, knowing exactly what your business is, and doing a great job of communicating that and inspiring other people to live up to it is a big, big part of it.
Well, I want to thank you for leading by example and inspiring other agents on how to build their business differently, because you're definitely paving the way on that.
I appreciate that a lot.
Thanks